Pam Bondi had taken on powerful figures before, but this case was different. She sat at her desk, flipping through the thick file in front of her. The deeper she read, the worse it got. At the center of it all was Judge Robert Kinsey, a man who had presided over cases for decades. His record was spotless, his reputation sterling. But Bondi knew better than to trust appearances. Across from her, Kyle Donahue sat stiffly, his hands clenched. A former courthouse clerk, he had uncovered something that others ignored. "You're telling me Kinsey fixed cases for years and no one noticed?" Bondi asked. Kyle exhaled. "People noticed, but they looked the other way. He was careful, never took cash directly, but I saw things, files disappearing, verdicts that made no sense." Bondi studied him, recognizing the rare courage it took to speak out. "Give me specifics," she said. Kyle nodded. Daniel Reyes, a developer caught in a fraud scandal, should have gone to prison. But Kinsey threw out key evidence. He walked free. Bondi flipped to the case file. The judge's reasoning was weak at best, corrupt at worst. And Reyes wasn't the only one. One case after another, the pattern became clear. A hedge fund manager let off the hook for insider trading. A money launderer whose conviction was overturned. Every time, Kinsey's rulings benefited powerful figures. The real question was, where was the money coming from? Bondi looked up. "What do you have on his finances?" Kyle hesitated. "That's where it gets tricky. His official records are clean, no sudden wealth. But I found offshore accounts, real estate under different names." He leaned in, lowering his voice. "And I think he's being protected." Bondi's eyes narrowed. "By who?" Kyle shook his head. "I don't know yet, but dig deep enough, and you'll find the names." She had exposed corruption before, but this was bigger. It wasn't just about one judge abusing his power, it was a system protecting the guilty. She knew one thing: Kinsey wouldn't go down quietly. Sitting in her car outside the courthouse, she felt the weight of what was coming. Her phone buzzed. "Detective Mark Henshaw, tell me you found something," she said. Henshaw's voice was low. "You're not gonna like this." Bondi's grip on the wheel tightened. "Try me." There was a pause. Kyle was right. Kinsey's got assets hidden under shell companies. We traced them to offshore accounts in the Caymans. Every single one links back to cases he ruled on. Bondi clenched her jaw. "This is enough to open an investigation." Henshaw sighed. "There's more. Kinsey knows he's being watched. He's moving money, Pam. He's getting ready to run." Bondi felt a flicker of satisfaction, but it didn't last. If Kinsey was running, it meant he saw the walls closing in. And desperate men were dangerous. She grabbed her case file and headed inside. It was time to take the next step. Kyle waited outside Kinsey's courtroom, shifting nervously. "You're really doing this?" he asked. Bondi nodded. "We don't have a choice." Inside, Kinsey presided over a trial, his expression unreadable. Bondi sat near the back, watching. The way he spoke, the way he feigned impartiality, it was all an act. And she was about to shatter it. As the trial adjourned for recess, she made her move. "Your Honor," she called, striding toward the bench. Kinsey looked up, irritated. "Miss Bondi, I wasn't aware you were part of these proceedings." "I'm not," she said. "But you and I have unfinished business." Kinsey sighed, stepping down. "If this is about that nonsense from your whistleblower." Bondi cut him off, handing him a folder. "Financial records, offshore accounts. You've been sloppy." Kinsey's expression didn't change, but Bondi saw it, the flicker of fear. He opened the folder, scanning the pages. Then he closed it. "This means nothing." Bondi smiled. "Not yet, but it will." She turned to leave. "You're making a mistake, Pam," he warned. She didn't stop. Outside, she called Henshaw. "Meet me now." 30 minutes later, they sat in a diner, a stack of papers between them. "This is everything we pulled in 24 hours, Henshaw said. Bondi flipped through the documents. Names she recognized: developers, CEOs, politicians. Kinsey wasn't just corrupt, he was part of a machine. She exhaled. "You said he's moving money. Where?" Henshaw hesitated. "That's the problem. Some accounts were emptied last week. If he's planning to disappear, we don't have much time." Bondi pushed the files aside. "Then we force his hand." She called Kyle. "I need something that ties him directly to a bribe." Kyle hesitated. "There's one person, Natalie Briggs." Natalie had worked for Kinsey for years before disappearing. "Where is she now?" Bondi asked. "Laying low. I don't think she wants to be found." But Bondi had to try. The address led her to a modest house on the outskirts of Tampa. She knocked. No answer. She knocked again. "Natalie Briggs, my name is Pam Bondi." I need to talk to you. The door cracked open. A tired face appeared. Go away. Bondi didn't move. I know you worked for Kinsey. I know you left suddenly. I think I know why. Natalie hesitated, then sighed. Come in. But if anyone asks, you were never here. Bondi stepped inside, feeling the weight of what was about to unfold. The blinds were drawn, the air heavy. I kept the books, Natalie said. The unofficial ones. I saw where the money came from, who benefited. I knew it was wrong, but when it's your job, you tell yourself it's not your problem. Her voice cracked. I wanted out. I told Kinsey. And you know what he said? Bondi waited. People who quit don't last long. A week later, her house was ransacked. Tires slashed. Cat disappeared. A message, she whispered. Then she disappeared into another room, returning with a flash drive. This is what you're looking for, she said. But if you take it, you finish this. You make sure he never wears that robe again. Bondi took the drive. I promise. Back in her office, she plugged in the drive. The files opened. Transactions. Case notes. Payoffs. Then she saw it. Daniel Reyes. Another name. Lewis Carver. Every case Kinsey had touched. Her pulse quickened. This was the proof she needed. She grabbed her phone. Henshaw, meet me at the courthouse first thing tomorrow. It's happening. The next morning, Bondi walked into the courthouse, her every step measured. Inside, Kinsey presided over another trial, pretending nothing was wrong. She stood. Your Honor. He looked up. Miss Bondi, sit down or I have urgent business before the court. The room fell silent. Kinsey's jaw tightened. You are out of line. She stepped forward, placing the flash drive on the clerk's desk. This contains records of your corruption, offshore accounts, illegal transactions, case tampering spanning a decade. Kinsey's face paled. This is outrageous. But the doors swung open. Henshaw entered with 2 federal agents. We have a warrant for your arrest. Kinsey's hands clenched into fists. You think the system will turn on me? Bondi met his gaze. It already has. The bailiff stepped forward, locking cuffs around Kinsey's wrists. The courtroom erupted. Bondi watched as the once powerful judge was led away. Outside, reporters swarmed. Henshaw fell into step beside her. It's not over. Bondi nodded. Then we don't stop here.